It's been a long time since Pikmin 3 Deluxe came out, and Thick Louie has beaten it 900000000000000000000 times. Thick Louie has been waiting for so long, and the next game has still yet to come. It's time for a new Pikmin game. It's time for Pikmin 4. Thick Louie leaves the mansion late at night and heads out in search of the next Pikmin game. It must be out there somewhere. He searches through different stores, hoping to find it, but always comes up empty-handed. It seems like there's nothing good in the nearby stores, so Thick Louie has an idea. He pulls out his phone and calls up the squad to meet behind the mansion. They all gather behind the mansion, and Thick Louie tells them the plan. The group splits up, and they hit every store in town looking for the game, but in the end, they are all left completely Pikmin-less. So, Steve and his 8 biological sons go back to the mansion once again. They ask Sonic if he knows anything about Pikmin 4. But he couldn't talk because he was in a hurry to get on his flight to Hollywood to film the Sonic movie sequel. They ask Captain Chairlie if he knows anything. He says they should ask Mr. Miyamoto instead. They go upstairs and ask Bulbman what the quickest way to Mr. Miyamoto is. Bulbman says the quickest way is by air, so Steve calls up Thick Louie and tells him to come to the mansion. Steve gathers everyone around and tells them his plan. Sonic said he was going on a flight to Hollywood soon, so the plan is to follow him to the airport and sneak onto his plane, completely undetected. Suddenly, there's a loud sound outside. Oh no! Sonic has just taken off in his car. They have to leave now. Luckily, Sonic has a backup car in his basement, so they can use it to chase him. Thick Louie is too thick to fit inside the car, so he stands on top. They chase Sonic through the streets for an hour, barely keeping up. This is their only chance of finding Pikmin 4. Eventually, they make it to the airport at midnight. They follow Sonic inside and try to blend in as much as possible. Captain Olimar was waiting here for them and is also involved in the plan. The group follows Sonic and his friends through the airport carefully, trying not to be seen. After Sonic extracts $9 quintillion from his bank account, he sits in the waiting area until the scheduled departure. Eventually, Sonic gets up and heads over to the boarding gate, with Thick Louie and company following closely behind. Suddenly, a splash potion of invisibility appears out of thin air. But it turns out, it was actually just Joe and one other person that followed the group here to help them sneak onto the plane. Joe throws the invisibility potion, and they all become invisible. This won't last for long, so they have to hurry. Eventually, the flight takes off, and they are aboard. For the first few hours, the plane flies to the destination just fine, with Thick Louie and crew waiting for landing. But then, nearing the end of the flight, when the sun is just coming up, Sonic gets up to go to the bathroom. Sonic discovers Thick Louie hiding in plain sight. But then, strangely, Sonic appears to get so mad that he completely glitches out. Sonic and Thick Louie jump on top of the plane and fight. Sonic pulls out his knife, but now it's corrupted and glitched out. Thick Louie tries to use a gun, but it is ineffective against Sonic. Sonic jumps on the wing and throws the knife at Thick Louie. The knife is ineffective as well, and simply bounces off of Thick Louie. Sonic blocks the knife, with his suitcase, but it won't be able to block a bigger object. Thick Louie jumps off of the plane and flies into the air. He flies into space and becomes He pulls out the thick steel dick of doom and aims it at the plane. He pulls the trigger and sets the whole plane on fire. Sonic jumps off the plane and falls through the clouds below. The plane eventually crashes on a deserted island. Steve, Captain Olimar, Joe, and Bulbman survived the crash. Thick Louie ventures into the forest on the island and collects wood from some nearby trees. Eventually, Thick Louie crafts a thick crafting table and places it on the beach. Joe comes over and uses his professional crafting skills to craft a rocket ship named the SS Shark. Then, Captain Olimar comes over and uses his cloning technology to make several clones of the small ship. Then, Steve and Bulbman come over and they all get on the ships, taking off into the sky. They fly through the clouds, taking in the view, and slowly fly over to the original destination. But it looks like they forgot one person. The purple Pikmin has been left behind. He goes into the forest, looking for any tools to escape, when he finds someone sitting near some bushes. The purple Pikmin takes this islander deep into the forest. Meanwhile, Thick Louie and company have just run into the glitched version of Sonic again. He once again tries to attack, but Thick Louie deflects it. Captain Olimar clones Thick Louie's back metal block, and it becomes 1,000 guns. Sonic pulls out a gun. This was the last straw for Thick Louie. Thick Louie aims 1,000 Glocks at Sonic, but they are ineffective. Suddenly, Captain Olimar jumps into space and becomes ultra thick. He uses his newfound thickness to clone the thickest object in the solar system, the sun. He creates a brand new sun, but is unable to move it. Suddenly, Joe jumps into space and pulls out a thick magnet that he crafted with the thick crafting table. He uses the thick magnet to move the sun onto Sonic, which appeared to kill him instantly. After Sonic was successfully defeated, they flew back down to Earth to continue the mission. Meanwhile, the purple Pikmin is deep in the forest late at night, discussing a deal with the rock Pikmin, who had turned out to be a game developer, well known for making solid games. The purple Pikmin pays the rock Pikmin $9 trillion of stolen money to make Pikmin 4. The rock Pikmin accepts the deal and makes Pikmin 4. Eventually, the rock Pikmin returns to the purple Pikmin with Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 mobile, of course. The purple Pikmin gives him one more chance to make the actual Pikmin 4. But before he can, a glitched version of Tails suddenly appears from the dark forest and kills the rock Pikmin. The glitched Tails retreats into the forest, and the purple Pikmin chases close behind. He pulls out a gun and shoots Tails. The glitched Tails gets knocked into the sun, but now the forest is on fire. The purple Pikmin quickly escapes onto the shore of the island and takes off in a leftover SS Shark ship that he didn't notice before. Meanwhile, Thick Louie and the crew have arrived in Japan and are ever close to getting to Mr. Miyamoto. As a group, they walk through the streets looking for any sign of him, when suddenly they run into what appears to be glitched versions of Knuckles and Amy. The glitched figures follow them through the streets until they run back to the ships. The glitched figures take the ships and both fly directly into the sun. Not into the normal sun, but rather into the second sun, previously cloned by Olimar. The group ponders what to do next without their ships. Then, suddenly, A ship lands in front of them, with the purple Pikmin aboard.
Ooh, that was fun.
The purple Pikmin gives them the ship back if they lead him to Nintendo headquarters for important business matters. They agree, and it turns out that could be the very location of Mr. Miyamoto. Steve has suspicions about the glitched Sonic and his friends, and thinks they could still be alive within the sun. Steve is the only one who can withstand the sun, so he takes the ship and flies into it in search of the glitches. The group heads for the nearest train to Nintendo headquarters and gets on. The conductor says it's just up ahead. Eventually, they get off, and they've reached Nintendo of Japan headquarters. Once inside, they make their way through the building, but still see no sign of Mr. Miyamoto. Eventually, they make it to the conference room, and it's not Mr. Miyamoto. The group leaves, and the purple Pikmin sets down the phone, with the Pikmin mobile game on it, hoping to get it officially released, so the Pikmin series won't die. They all back to the train, disappointed. Looks like the search was a failure, after all. But hope is not lost quite yet, as Bulbman tells everybody that he's discovered the location of Mr. Miyamoto by using echolocation. He sits next to the conductor and becomes GPS telling him where to go. Within a few hours, they're here. The gates to Mr. Miyamoto's home. He's just beyond these doors. There's no turning back now. None of them had ever seen anything like this before. The atmosphere is filled with the hums of golden-winged Pikmin flying through the sky. The air here is practically made of joy. The Golden Palace is just up ahead. They must hurry. Once inside, the group searches through the palace for a way up to the top floor. It must be where Mr. Miyamoto rests. The silence is deafening, and the taste of victory grows stronger with every step. But it looks like they won't have to take many more.
Please, come forward.
They have entered Miyamoto's throne room. It all comes down to this. Thick Louie demands Pikmin 4 from Miyamoto. It's not very effective. Miyamoto says he'll make Pikmin 4 on one condition.
Checkmate.
The final battle has begun. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Meanwhile, Steve has entered the second sun. Everything here is made of fire. There is no way out. He must find the glitches and take them down. To his surprise, the glitches find him instead. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy. They all gather in front of him, as if to size up the opponent before the attack. The lightning storm thunders in the distance. The fiery embers of the sun burn eternally, lighting up the atmosphere. It's now or never. This is his only chance. Steve must take them down. Luckily, he borrowed some technology from Olimar and brought it with him to the sun. It's on. Steve and his 78 biological clones are just about to attack. But before they can, suddenly, the glitches return back to their normal forms. and die instantly, due to being on the sun. How did that happen? Someone must have fixed the code. But who? Checkmate. Miyamoto has returned to his palace after defeat. Thick Louie's abilities, combined with everyone else's, are truly remarkable. Miyamoto decides to make Pikmin 4. If the Pikmin mobile game does well. Meanwhile, it turns out the rock Pikmin didn't die after all, because he's a rock. And that's how he was able to patch out the glitches on the second sun. And now that half the Sonic cast is gone, the Sonic series has officially died. Everyone else goes back to the mansion that once belonged to Sonic, and waits patiently for Pikmin 4. The end.